If you've ever searched solo cruise to Alaska, if you've ever typed those words into a search bar at, say, midnight and wondered whether it was actually possible, whether it was something that would be worth it, whether you'd feel lonely or lost or out of place, then this video here is the answer for you. A solo Alaska cruise is one of the most searched, most dreamed about, and most underestimated travel experiences in the world. And for good reason, because of the people who do it, the first-timers, the seasoned solo cruisers, people who nearly didn't book, they all come back changed. Not just relaxed, not just well-rested, they come back changed. In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly what a solo cruise to Alaska looks like and feels like. The inside passage, the Endicott Arm and Glacier Bay, the wildlife, the ports, the moments nobody warns you about, of course, and why thousands of solo travelers every year call it the single best decision they've ever made for themselves. I am the solo cruiser Wade Heath, and if you feel like my reporting and perspective bring you any sort of value, I would encourage you to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a thing. And if you happen to be a solo traveler looking to cruise more often without having to pay that dreaded solo supplement, that awful double occupancy rate, I get it. That is why I've put together my top 5 tips, exactly what I do completely for free, so that you can hopefully tackle your next cruise booking without having to break the bank. If you'd like to learn more about it, there's a link for you in the description. Let's kick things off by talking about the most common question solo Alaska cruise travelers ask before they end up booking. And it's a simple one. They say, will I regret going to Alaska alone? The answer here, overwhelmingly across every forum, every review, every comment section, and from my own personal experience having gone to Alaska solo, is no. Solo cruising to Alaska isn't a consolation prize. It isn't the trip you take when the original plan falls apart. Traveler after traveler who's done it will tell you the same thing. Going alone turned out to be the point. Because Alaska doesn't reveal itself to crowds. It reveals itself to the person standing at that very rail, coffee in hand at 6 a.m., when the mist is still low on the water and the mountains are just beginning to emerge from the dark. That person in that moment, that's you. Now from there, let's turn our attention to the ship, the passage, and the quiet you are going to experience as a solo traveler in Alaska. The inside passage runs roughly 800 miles along the Pacific coast. That is a bit of a sheltered corridor of water that's flanked by the Tongass National Forest on one side. That's the largest of all the temperate rainforests in the world. It's almost unreasonably beautiful, I guess is the best way I can describe it. The fjords, they open up without warning. You never know when it's going to happen. The islands appear and disappear into the fog, and snow-capped peaks stand seemingly so close you feel like you could just reach out and touch those suckers right from your balcony. It's one of the most incredible experiences. I tell people it's like entering the gates of heaven throughout this Alaska voyage, and you realize that you often are just like holding your breath, and you're like, why am I doing that? Why am I holding my breath? It's because it's so captivating. One of the things that solo travelers consistently report about Alaska cruising is this sort of feeling of scale. The landscape doesn't just like make you feel small. It makes your worries feel completely insignificant in the world. You think about your inbox and traffic and the argument you're still replaying in your head. None of it fits in this environment. As one traveler put it simply after walking on the ice fields above Juneau, they said, I was overwhelmed by the feeling of being so small in comparison to the natural wonder before me. And having personally experienced that myself, I can tell you that's a very real feeling. And it's not a bad thing at all. It's a tremendous gift to be so captivated, to be so taken away by the wonder of nature that you can't think of anything else more important. Moving along, if there is one moment that defines this Alaska cruise, for solo travelers especially, it is the passage through Endicott Arm to Dawes Glacier, or Glacier Bay on some cruise lines. It often begins before sunrise. You see the ship It enters the fjord in the early morning hours, and if you're a wise person, you're going to get yourself up and go outside. Whether that be your balcony or an open deck, you got to get out there to see what's about to unfold in front of you. The air, it hits you at first, not just cold, it's going to be quite weighted. And as one traveler described it to me, they said every breath feels filtered through centuries of ice and stone before it even reaches you. It's cleaner than rain, and it's heavier than fog. Of course, Endicott Arm is a 30-mile fjord that's carved by ancient glaciers as the ship itself glides through all the jade-green waters and the towering granite cliffs that rise on either side, with all the cascading waterfalls that are fed by the melting snowfields. It is a sight to behold. I told you, it's like the gates of heaven opened up around you. Also around you, harbor seals that are lounging on drifting ice as though they own the place. Because, of course they do. This is their domain, right? And no doubt this isn't just like brochure Alaska. This really is Alaska with its sleeves rolled up. And then at the end of the fjord is truly the cherry on top. This, standing over 600 feet tall and half a mile wide, this active tidewater glacier towers above a battlefield of shattered ice. It is actually made up of two glaciers, believe it or not. The dark ridge running down its center where both rivers of ice have merged into one. You stand at the rail and you look at Dawes Glacier. Then the ship, it just goes quiet. And suddenly it happens. A crack, then thunder, then a rush of water. A massive section of ice breaks from the face and crashes into the sea below. The sound rolls across the fjord and back again. You can actually hear the ice cracking before it drops. The ship itself, it rocks gently in the wave that follows. Getting to witness something like this in person is a heck of a lot more than scenery. I mean, it is proof that the earth is never still, even when we seem to be. And because you are alone, there is no one to turn to and say, "Did you see that?" You don't say anything. You feel that moment. You feel it entirely and completely and without interruption. You feel like the fjord has let you in on a bit of a secret. That is the solo traveler's secret gift. Beyond that, let's discuss the unexpected encounters. Alaska's wildlife does not perform on any sort of schedule. It just lives, baby, and you get to witness it. All the humpback whales, some 40 feet long, rising from Chatham Strait without warning, and the pods of orca that are cutting across the glassy surface near Icy Strait, or how about the black bear at Mendenhall just fishing in the creek with complete indifference to the humans that happen to be watching in the stunned silence from the bank. I've seen it all. It is an incredible sight to behold. Bald eagles that are perched up in the trees, and sea otters floating on their backs wrapped in kelp as they haven't a care in the world, it seems. You know, when you're traveling solo, you absorb these moments differently. You're not managing someone else's reaction, so you don't have to worry about what other people are thinking or doing, or are they going to miss this. You're not fumbling with someone else's camera. You are just there. You are present. Naturalists are on board almost every ship that goes to Alaska anymore. These are the experts who narrate the passage and point out the wildlife to you. They become your companions. You get to ask lots of questions you might have held back in a group because you're there solo. You learn, you listen, you begin to understand that Alaska is not some sort of a backdrop. This is a living system. It's ancient and intricate. That was here long before all of us, and will outlast all of us too, no doubt. And somehow, it is incredibly comforting. Pulling ahead, let's touch on some of the port stops that you might encounter on a solo cruise to Alaska. On my own solo cruise, I stopped in Ketchikan, Juneau, and Sitka, the ports of the Inside Passage. They each kind of carry their own personality, and I think when you're alone, you can follow your instincts completely. In Ketchikan, that is Alaska's first city, it greets you with rows of totem poles, a harbor that's stacked with fishing boats, and Really, the best king crab legs you've probably ever tasted. Everybody says these are the best king crab legs in the world. You get to wander Creek Street on your own timeline. There's so much to see here, lots of shopping to do, and it's all above water, which is kind of cool. It's also where I saw my bald eagle for the first time, right? My very first bald eagle sighting was right here, and no one is rushing you back to the ship. So Ketchikan is a fun little shopping destination, a bit of a getaway, and this is where they got that lumberjack show you can go see too, if that's something that you would have an interest in. Moving on over to Juneau, the capital city, accessible only by sea or air, offers a glacier, the Mendenhall, just minutes from downtown, and you can kayak toward it on your own, or you can also hike the trails along its banks. In the water above, flight seeing tours will carry you over ice fields that look like another planet entirely. Juneau also does several different bus tours, so if that's something that you want to keep your feet firmly planted on, say, pavement or something a little bit more solid than potentially some slippery ice, well, you can do that here in Juneau. And over in Sitka, this is where Alaska's Russian past comes to life. The onion domes of St. Michael's Cathedral rise high above the harbor. The Alaska Raptor Center rehabilitates bald eagles and lets you stand close enough to feel the wind from their wings. And Sitka Sound, ringed by volcanic peaks and open to the Pacific, is so just quietly stunning that many travelers call it one of the most beautiful ports of the entire voyage. I remember standing here and thinking, it looks like a freaking painting. Like, it doesn't even look real. It looks like a screensaver. I love those moments on a cruise. When you go to places so far off the beaten path that they don't feel real because they're too beautiful, that to me screams, man, I got some value out of this. And perhaps, that's Alaska's greatest trick out of everything. It just keeps making you go quiet in the best possible way. Next, I want to share with you the unexpected social magic. Here's what people don't expect. Solo cruising in Alaska is not lonely. The ship becomes a small, mobile community. At dinner, you can request a shared table and end up talking for 3 hours with a retired teacher from Oregon and a photographer from Montreal, just like I did. At the rail during whale watching, a stranger hands you their binoculars because the angle is better from where they're standing. That also happened on my sailing. On small expedition ships, especially, vessels carry just 20 or 60 passengers. The intimacy on those ships is immediate. Now, you're going to pay an arm and a leg for that experience, but crew members, they learn your name. Fellow travelers become such good friends. Now, whether you are on an expedition ship or a mass market cruise line, like the majority of people tend to be, it doesn't matter. You are going to be surrounded by a small community of individuals who are going to be sharing such a unique experience with you. You will not forget it, and neither will they. There were plenty of moments on my own solo cruise where people stopped everything they were doing, looked at me and said, "Did you ever think you were going to see that in your life?" I mean, such a special shared experience where you think, yeah, how many of us are on this ship and how many people in the world will never get to see what we just saw? When you think of blessings, Alaska comes to mind. These cruises, there's a reason why they are bucket lists for many people. It is because they stand head and shoulders above almost all the other destinations in the world. You discover that opening yourself to strangers in an environment like this, when there's no familiar face to retreat to, is actually a superpower. And on that note, I want to make mention that there is a bit of an inner journey you get to experience when you sail solo to Alaska. I think there is a reason that Alaska draws solo travelers who are maybe processing something, whether that be a loss or a transition, a question they haven't yet been able to answer at home. And between the rhythm of the ship and the vastness of the scenery and the enforced slowness of a week at sea, gosh, it just creates a kind of space that's very hard to find in ordinary life. You sleep better than you have in months. I know I did. You read books you've been meaning to get to for years. You sit on your balcony in the morning and you watch the world go by at 12 knots and realize that you actually don't need to be anywhere. It's a freeing type of feeling. One traveler who had never been able to convince her late husband to join her booked the cruise alone after his passing. In fact, she met another woman on the first day, also recently widowed, also finally there. And the two were nearly inseparable for the rest of the journey. I'd say Alaska kind of has a way of putting the right people in your path. And as all good things do, the cruise does eventually come to an end. You pack that bag up and you disembark. You sit in the airport, either in Anchorage or Seattle or San Francisco, and you feel slightly disoriented. Not because the trip was overwhelming, but because it was clarifying. You went to Alaska to see glaciers and whales and totem poles, and you came back having seen yourself. Having seen what you're capable of, what you actually need in life, what you're willing to leave behind. There is, I think, a reason the state calls itself the last frontier. Not, I guess, because it's far away necessarily, but more so because it's one of the last places that still asks something of you. And if you happen to go alone, you get to answer that for yourself. Hey, if you've been thinking about doing this, the idea of going alone to Alaska, if that's felt either terrifying or exciting or both, I would say take that feeling seriously. Alaska, it is waiting for your solo cruise. The glaciers are not going to be this size forever, are they? No, they are not. And the season itself is quite short, and the person who boards that ship on embarkation day, well, they will not be the same person who disembarks, and I do believe that's exactly the point. Have you ever cruised solo to Alaska before? Are you thinking about a solo cruise to the last frontier yourself and just haven't quite pulled the trigger yet? Hey, no matter where you stand, I would love to hear from you. Let me know what's holding you back from going to Alaska solo, or if you've been there, what did you like the most? What port stop was your absolute favorite? I talked about how each of these port stops seem to have a personality to them, right? No doubt you've experienced that yourself if you've done the solo cruise that direction. Drop it in the comments. And as mentioned previously, if you happen to be a solo traveler looking to cruise more often without having to pay that double occupancy rate, I totally understand the frustration. So I put together my top 5 tips, my common sense approach that I utilize every single time I go to book a cruise alone. And either I walk away paying no solo supplement or a greatly diminished solo supplement. If you'd like to learn more about it, I've got that completely free for you down in the description. And hey, if you don't like the cold climate, you don't really think Alaska's gonna be your vibe, I get that, I can appreciate that. You want somewhere warmer? Well, I've got more options for you here. In fact, I wanna share with you exactly what it was like to go on down to the Mexican Riviera where it was nice and warm, and this was on board the Royal Princess. That's right, and a couple of things happened to me on this trip that were a very pleasant surprise. I'm gonna drop that video over here on the right for you, and for other cruise tips and tricks, check out that video on the left. I'm the solo cruiser Wade Heath, and I will see you next time.